Jujutsu Kaisen 255 just dropped, and Sukuna is once again back on his bullshit. And we have a lot of information to wrangle with here, and I'm not gonna lie, it has sent my ass down a rabbit hole. But we'll get to said rabbit hole in a little minute here, so let's just get right into the chapter. So if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe for that massive PP energy boost. But anyway, this chapter opens up showing us the return of the mighty Miguel, who is now has a second name as Miguel Oduo. I'm pretty sure I've just butchered that name, so I'm just gonna call him Miguel because that is I don't think I'm capable of saying that word. I'm just gonna keep it a stack. Anyway, Miguel is also joined by LaRue, and if you don't remember, apparently my mouth is just not working. And if you don't remember LaRue here, don't stress it. That's fine. It's okay. But this dude is someone who was a part of Ghetto's family, quote unquote, where he was helping him reach his goals, and his goals being the genocide of people. Anyway, we saw him in JJK 0 also briefly during the Shibuya arc, and LaRue is also carrying Kusakabe in a giant hand, which we'll touch on again in a second. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this chapter, but it's safe to assume that after this, Kusakabe and they've TP'd out and they've gone to get him all healed up. But it also turns out Miguel is a shiny-headed bald king, and we love to see it. But we're also treated to this wonderful flashback of Miguel, LaRue, and Yuta all talking about the upcoming fight with Sukuna. Now, I wonder where about in the timeline this falls. I wonder if this happened during the month time skip, or maybe even earlier, perhaps. But the upshot here is that Miguel is essentially saying, "Fuck no, I am not fighting Sukuna. You idiots must be seriously special in the head thinking that I'm going to go and help fight someone who could arguably beat Gojo at the point in time," because obviously he didn't know that was going to happen. But honestly, Miguel and Kamo in this series might be two of the most responsible and rational human beings within the entire series, and there's also this fun little interaction between Yuta and Miguel that I really enjoyed, and I would genuinely love to see more of those two and their dynamic. And personally, Gege, please, please bring Yuta back. I need him, please, and thank you. Anyway, LaRue asks Yuta if him and Miguel can have a chat one-on-one. And LaRue mentioned how they all love Suguro Geto, and, you know, it would be nice for them to mourn him together, giving their all in the fight against Sukuna. And the panel that Gege drew for this specific segment here really reminded me of this panel from 236, and I'm not sure why. It just gave me the same radiant energy. It's quite unique, I think. It just stands out on my head. But LaRue talks about how they'll get to blast their Requiem to the heavens by giving their all in the fight, which remind me of Ivagen's Requiem in Hunter x Hunter. Again, you know, Gege is a big Hunter x Hunter fan, as am I. But Miguel interrupts this nice little moment and says, you know, "Surely you mean hell here," referring to how Geto more than likely has gone to hell, because remember, he did kill his own parents plus an entire village of people just for being non-sorcerers. And, well, there was obviously the reason they were holding Nanako and Mimiko as well. But yeah, the main premise there is that he killed an entire village for being non-sorcerers. But anyway, he agrees to fight Sukuna here under two conditions. One, he will fight after Yuta and Gojo both lose, and then two, when Sukuna can't use his domain, which, by the way, now that part right there is the important part, which we'll circle back around to in a minute, because that's a bit of a screaming red flag, if I'm honest with you. But we come back to the present day here, and we see Miguel assessing the situation, mentioning how Sukuna has lost the use of his two lower arms, his RCT is weakened, and his domain is sealed, which is a very, very interesting choice of words. Again, we'll circle back around to that in a second, because so far we've all been under the impression that Sukuna couldn't use his domain as a result of the fight with Gojo, but Miguel outright says it was sealed. Now, I wonder if it's just like a translation error, or if it's just something that we've missed, or if maybe it's just the way that Miguel speaks, or maybe Miguel has some sort of special eyeballs, because we haven't seen his eyes, I don't think, so he's hiding them behind the shades. So let me see those peepers there, Miguel, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on underneath the shades? But anyway, LaRue and Sukuna begin their fight here, and we learn that LaRue's technique is called Heart Catch, and it can grip a target, even if it's destroyed, it'll just keep respawning indefinite amount of times, and every time it takes damage, that damage gets transferred to the owner, but it's only 1/10 of the damage being returned. So basically, if you get hit with a slash, it's going to be a cat scratch, I'm assuming. It's quite interesting technique, but there is nowhere near as interesting as Miguel literally breakdancing, duck dodging, and weaving over the slashes that Sukuna has been sending his way. And it turns out Miguel's technique here is called Hakuna Lana, and it is explained to us that the beat etched into his body expels curses and enhances his own physical capabilities. It's kind of like a discount heavenly restriction. We'll get into it now. So you might be sat there wondering, Weeb, What the fuck does that mean? Well, from my understanding, me and my 5 brain cells have cobbled together here. So long as Miguel is moving and creating a beat or a rhythm, the technique can be activated, which it is activated. He essentially reduces the effectiveness of the enemy CT and buffs his own physical strength. Either that or Miguel's heartbeat is what is meant when the panel says the beat etched into his body. So I let you guys theorize in the comments below. It could be either. It could just be the way he moves, the rhythm of his movements, or it could be heartbeat. I don't know. I'm not sure. But either way, it's also implied that Miguel doesn't have a domain. Well, I think it's implied. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but we do get this flashback of Gojo and Miguel interacting, and the interaction is certainly an interesting one. It's not something I was expecting out of Jujutsu Kaisen, to be honest with you. But Gojo mentions how 99% of sorcerers are Japanese, and you add cursed energy buff to these physiques and the muscle mass, which is crazy rare in Japan, and the result is pretty menacing, which Miguel tells him, "You're painting with a broad brush there, fella. You need to slow down. That's racist. I'm not special because I'm black. I'm special because I'm me." To which, Gojo apologizes. And like I said, this is a very unique and strange interaction. Gojo's ignorance popping its head up there with Miguel correcting it. And it's interesting. It's an interesting take that Gege has put it across here, because obviously, I don't know, there's obviously culture differences going on here, and obviously Gojo is, considering how perfect, quote-unquote, Gojo has been portrayed as, I don't know, this whole interaction is just really strange, just not something I was expecting out of Jujutsu Kaisen. And, for all the jokes of Geto being a racist within the fandom, and all the shippers shipping Gojo and Geto, this panel really just sort of implies birds of a feather flocking together here, because Gojo just lets out this little piece of intolerance here, and then obviously Geto has basically just been labeled as a racist within the fandom. It's really strange. Anyway, Gojo just outright talks to Miguel's capabilities here, and he says if him and Miguel were to fight bare knuckle with cursed energy only and no techniques, then Gojo would win the marathon, but Miguel would have won the sprint. Meaning Miguel's basically Conor McGregor. This dude has 2 solid rounds of throwing a left hand overhand at someone, and then after that it's just straight up Khabib time. But we get to see Miguel and Sukuna throwing hands, with Miguel landing blows and even parrying Sukuna's attacks, which is where Yuji and Choso arrive back in the field. That video that I posted today, aging like fine wine, because I predicted that this dude was going to pop up in this chapter, because Gege called me and let me know. He didn't do that. I'm really delusional. Anyway, Choso fires off a piercing blood here, and Yuji lands on top of Sukuna with this like Hulk smash attack, hammer fist type beat. And again, Sukuna on his generational hate and arc asks Yuji, "You're still around?" Any opportunities Sukuna has to hate on Yuji, he will quite gladly take it. I genuinely love that about his character. It's quite nice. But this segment here is what sent me completely and utterly over down it sent me down a rabbit hole. So we've been given information on Sukuna's World Slash. Now, if you've been in and out of streams and on the channel, then you'll know that I've been feeling a little bit frustrated as the series goes on about how Gege handled Sukuna and Gojo. But this information kind of puts it all into perspective, kind of. You see, Sukuna, in order to activate the World Slash, he needs to use the same hand sign for Malevolent Shrine, which is called Enmaten. And I'll throw up some really cool trivia here on the screen, so right now, if you want, you can pause the video, you can read that. It's really cool. I thought it was very interesting. Obviously, after Gojo nuked the city here, Sukuna was left with only one arm, and this was before his transformation, so Sukuna had to impose a binding vow upon himself in order to fire that first World Slash here, without any hand signs or incantations, which was how he landed said slash on Gojo. But the trade-off was that if he wants to use it again, he has to do the following. 1. Use the Enmaten hand sign. 2. Chant the incantations. 3. He has to choose the trajectory of the technique with his palm. Now, this right here is what sent me down the rabbit hole. So, the first time we saw Sukuna use the World Slash after Gojo was against Kashimo, and he used the Enmaten hand sign, he used the chant, and then he directs the slash with a palm, just like this, right? 4 fingers pointing towards the opponent. Now, I started going back through all the chapters, and after this World Slash was fired, I'm about 80-90% certain Sukuna hasn't used it since then, and has only been using the chants and hand signs to strengthen the regular cleave and dismantle. Now, the reason I think this is because of those points laid out by the narrator. There's 3 things that he has to fulfill though. We never actually see Sukuna complete them all to fire slashes after his fight with Kashimo, and if he does, his hand is in a different position in comparison to the time he did it against Kashimo. For example, when he fired the slash against Higuruma, Sukuna used chants, the Enmaten hand sign, but he pointed with 2 fingers, right? Not the palm, which is interesting. He didn't use the same forefinger open palm, like palm like this, against Kashimo, which means if my crazy crackpot theory 5 brain cell have an ass is right here, then Yuta wasn't hit with the World Slash either, and it was just a regular cleave in the Dismantle to strengthen it. And we also now know that if that is the case also, then Maki never got hit with a World Slash or never dodged the World Slash either, because he couldn't use the Enma hand sign because he was missing an arm, and the other arm at the bottom was still destroyed from when Yuta slashed it. So again, because his hand was pointed out to be an open palm like we saw against Kashimo, and also he wasn't able to use the Enma hand sign again with Yuta here because his arms had been slashed. But Sukuna did try and fake out Kusakabe by using the same hand sign against him as he did with Kashimo, because he points at Kusakabe with the 4 fingers here, and Kusakabe was the first person to mention the possibility of a binding vow or even a charge up for the World Slash. So in my head, well, now we're really down the fucking rabbit hole. In my head, it means Sukuna has not only been dominating the far, but he's also been playing mind games and playing with his food, with everyone baiting them into thinking he is going to fire off the World Slash whenever he fucking wants, because obviously the gang doesn't know the conditions of this. It's only Sukuna that knows this, and Kashimo so far was the only person that knew or recognized that the slash that he just fired was the one that hit Gojo. I mean, Kusakabe also recognized that this might be a thing, and then he extended his domain. So yeah, I'm telling you, I've been down a fucking rabbit hole for this. So yeah, some homework for you guys. Go and reread the chapters after Gojo's death and look at every time Sukuna has used the slashes to see if they match what he did against Kashimo, because I'm almost certain they don't. But let me know in the comments below if you find anything interesting, because I need help. I am deranged. I'm in a rabbit hole with this right now. Gege has got me going back fine with a fine-tooth comb through this chapter right now. But anyway, speaking of crazy and speaking of World Slash, Maki actually appears on the fucking battlefield with a crazed look in her eyes and slices Sukuna's arm clean off, meaning Sukuna now only has 2 arms on one side of his body, meaning he can't use any hand signs at all. And also now Yuji has to just go and jinx it. Yeah, Yuji jinxed us by saying he can't complete any hand signs with only his right arm, and his reverse curse technique still isn't functional. And we can finally win. It's all coming together. Everyone's hard work it's paying off for this moment. But at said moment, Sukuna lands a fucking Black Flash on LaRue, which is where the narrator kicks in and says Gojo Satoru restored his reverse curse technique after hitting a second Black Flash. However, in the King of Curses case, and it's ... and that's where the chapter ends. So, if I'm honest with you, I'm almost 100% expecting a fully healed Sukuna by next chapter. Worst case scenario, he even gets his domain back, because, again, Miguel talking of the domain being sealed, and you know, that to me, that was his requirement for him to fight Sukuna, which to me screamed red flag, and even the author comment mentions of the ominous black light shine and beckons an ill omen. So yeah, I'm thinking we might be seeing a Heian era Sukuna domain, like, next chapter. And thankfully we aren't on a fucking break, because that's massive. I'm not sure I could deal with a week of no Jujutsu Kaisen. I know, like, the past couple of chapters I said I was kind of disappointed on it, but this chapter really gripped my, I nearly said balls then, I'm just gonna say it really gripped me by the skull. Anyway, yeah, it really did. Like, there was a lot of information in this chapter, and it really did send me down a rabbit hole here, and I genuinely think I could make a video about the whole thing of Sukuna in and of itself. So if you guys want to see that video, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, that's everything from me. You guys can get out of here and stop watching my face. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Much fucking love, big fucking kisses, peace.